Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I want to present you a very late review of Khazan, the first Berserker. This game is amazing and very hard, for me at least, as it was the first Souls-like game I've played. Clair Obscur doesn't count as it's just turn-based, and to be frank, it's easy compared with this. The game has two difficulties and I realized quickly that this one is way too hard for me, so I shamelessly switched to a difficulty to easy. The change was final. Now I believe devs released a patch that lets you freely change difficulties. I saw people take pride by beating the game on normal, and I get that, but I also saw a lot of people looking down on those who switch on easy. Why do you do that, bro? It's pretty fucking tasteless and stupid. Just don't do that. You have your fun, let others have their fun, okay? Thanks. Just play the way you want. Easy is challenging enough for me and I suspect a lot of people. As I said, this was my first Souls-like game. More on the difficulty in a bit when I talk about bosses. There are three core mechanics of combat: attacking, obviously, dodging and guarding. If you guard as an enemy attack is about to land, you'll do a perfect guard and you will use less stamina when doing that. Stamina is key to Khazan, the first Berserker. It's used for everything, so you need to keep an eye out on it at all times, or you enter a state of exhaustion, and that's bad because you can't do shit without it. You can't attack or defend and you can barely move. This of course applies to enemies also. Hit them with some of them. Hit them with a potent blow or two and their stamina goes poof. Then go to their back and just use a brutal strike. That's a type of attack that becomes available if you surprise an enemy from behind or you exhaust them in combat. And I must admit, I didn't use any brutal attacks the entire first half of the game or something. Yeah, perhaps that's why I had to change the difficulty of the game to easy after the first boss, because yeah, it just didn't do enough damage. Talking about the difficulty, this game is brutal. I mean, easy in this game is like very hard in some other games, most of the other games. It's a relentless battle to survive during each boss and even some of the elite enemies you encounter throughout the game. Hell, even regular monsters pose a threat sometimes because of the mix of enemies in any given area, or better yet, the mix of enemies and the environment, which is difficult to traverse at times and has a few features that... Just take a look at this. You need to move on these ledges and there are multiple situations where you can be pushed down by a charging enemy or even a swarm of bats. It's infuriating when it happens, but I appreciate the level design and all the conscious shitty situations you are put through in this game by the design team that developed it. Kudos to you, my guys. I hate you and I love you at the same time. At times you enter a level that applies elements to you, so you can't stay in a certain spots for too long, or the enemies get healed when they are in range of some stones that you can destroy, or you have pools of poison, etc. It's an interesting mix. I didn't see this to this extent in a long time, to be honest with you. The environment is posing a real threat in this game. And I haven't even started talking about bosses. Whew, they are the real threat of this game, after all. They are the skill checks. If you go in a boss arena thinking you are going to one-shot the boss, you are delusional, my guy. Maybe if you are one of those so-called Souls veterans that have an easier time, sure, but most people are going to get shit on by most bosses. Even on easy, I had trouble defeating some of them. Now granted, as I said earlier, I didn't use brutal strikes for most of the game, but still, let me give you a couple of examples. If you don't want to hear anything about bosses, just skip over this part, but yeah, the game is old by this point, so... The first boss I had troubles with was Bangao, who's a goat with a hammer in one hand and a big nail in another. The nail during certain phases does fire damage that goes to your guard, so you really need to dodge those attacks, and does a lot of AoE damage, preventing you from attacking at times. So, and to top it off, he lights the entire floor on fire at some point, so you need to climb a ladder to the other side of the arena or you'll get cooked. Somehow I always ended up taking the initial bulk of the damage from that shit as I was about to grab the ladder. Always. Yeah, and my spirit of advocacy always died when that happened, because he's dumb and he has no AI, and yeah, you can't issue any orders. So yeah, this boss was a pain for me, the first of many, so screw the gold, man. The second one must be Maluka. This prick has two phases, like many other bosses. There's one boss that has even 3 phases. Now, if a boss seems too easy and if you see a cinematic playing during the fight, you should know that shit is about to get real. What seems to be a glorified elite mob in the first phase, when he slowly and predictably attacks you with his dual greatswords. In the second phase, his attacks with the katana are very fast, they do a ton of chaos damage, and yeah, ugh. Shaktuka was pretty bad at that time. With my non-existent game knowledge I had at that point, the boss does some very quick attacks you need to be aware of, and has a grab, a kick with his back legs, so yeah, I actually think he's one of the easy bosses now, but at that time it felt pretty hard. But little did I know, the next annoying boss for me was a ranged one, called Troka, and I know for a fact a lot of you had issues with this boss, because I read Reddit from time to time. I think I tried her 30 times or something, at least. Most deaths were happening in her L phase, when she's shooting a lot of projectiles that you need to dodge or just sprint through. My problem was the first and the last projectile that are a bit offbeat. Those are harder to evade, and if you take the first hit, for example, you take 10 more, resulting in an infuriating death. Because you know what's coming, and it still gets you. It's so annoying. Anyway, it's skill issue. The game is great. It's skill issue on my part. She has a ton of annoying attacks besides those, but for me this phase of the fight was the worst. Just run through the blue mushrooms that give you stamina regen or something, and you'll probably do better than I did. So after countless deaths, finally managed to defeat her. Casters in this game suck. They are so much harder than melee enemies, it's not even funny. Even regular casters are annoying. Balerian was the boss when I first used brutal attacks, so I did her the first try. The fight was good because I felt I have options. Scalpel was this melee boss that drove me nuts for 2 hours. Some of his attacks spread plague, and he of course has 2 phases. Duh. So when I was finally happy I ended the first phase, the prick just came back with vengeance, and oof. In the second phase of the fight he constantly attacks. I believe he's enraged or something, and his health is slowly decaying. Thank God for that. So in theory you can wait it out, but you really need to dish out some damage so it ends a bit faster, you know, because if you run out of stamina and he is still swinging at you. So yeah, I managed at some point to just do it, and it felt pretty easy that time. I don't know what happened, but it was only after I knew his attack patterns, and yeah, it was a hard boss. Next one is Hismar, and this was a pretty hard fight for me, especially because the short DPS windows you have and his huge hitbox. I was often swinging in the air like a muppet, not hitting anything. The boss attacks are for the most part predictable, but he keeps wearing me down every time because I sleep from time to time, you know, so he's slowly killing me, while I can't reliably do any damage back. I tried him at least 40 times I believe, and by the end the fights took up to 20 minutes because I knew the fight and dodged most attacks. Anyway, when exhausted you can perform a brutal attack only from a certain spot in front of his head, and you sometimes get stuck in his collision when he collapses on top of you. This is so dumb. So pro tip here, if you see him falling, just dodge out of his way so you don't get stuck in his collision, you know. The lock-on feature feels like it's preventing you from hitting the boss at times, and it's annoying as fuck. It's still better to play with that enabled though, so I don't recommend you disable it, but sure, if you can aim your character, just play with it off at this boss. Yeah, if you can manage without it, it should be easier. So yeah, if you sit between his back legs, sometimes you could swing once or twice without getting hit, but you swing in the air because his belly and heads are way up and you can't reach them. Yeah. Overall, an impressive fight that has some issues for spear users. At least I finally did it in around 13 minutes. You got the idea by now. Great combat overall. I mean, it's as good as Black Desert's combat in my humble opinion, with only a few keybinds needed. No clunkiness, good satisfying impacts, and always a big room to improve. My only problem, if I can call it a problem, are the side missions bosses who are just recycled main bosses. I wish they were all different as well, like all the main bosses, because yeah, they are very cool and it's a missed opportunity. But yeah, it's a lot of work to do a boss like this, so I kinda understand that, but I still wish they were different. So good, guys. It's the regular enemies are challenging at first, but throughout the game you learn their patterns and you'll just shit on them. The elites are sometimes hard and unexpected enemies, providing huge spikes in difficulty. Not all of them though, but the environment plus elites are very deadly at times. They don't respawn when killed though. The same with the big loot chests. They don't respawn either. And the loot is very good overall. You'll use sets most of the time though. I wish you could have the possibility to get good normal gear that could be better than any set for grinding reasons and diversity, but it's fine as it is, to be frank, because if you want to min-max, you'll just reroll stats until you get the perfect gear for what you want, you know. The rerolling costs a lot of la 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 lacrima, and you get said la 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 lacrima even when you die at a boss, so I didn't have issues with that currency, and you don't feel you wasted your time getting wrecked by boss over and over, you know. So you level up even when dying repeatedly at the boss. The graphics, Khazan leans heavily into dark fantasy aesthetic with brutal oppressive environments, towering architecture and hellish details. Those are pretty fucking cool. I like how characters in this game stand out, and besides a few exceptions, I consider the environments beautiful. The top-notch effects, from the exaggerated blood splatters to impact bars, all add to the visceral tone of the combat. Good cinematic camera angles, but don't expect long cinematics in this game. They are mostly short and to the point. The performance is great on my PC. I kept the FPS at 120 and I stayed there most of the time. Got only a few drops during certain cinematics. Perhaps the game is loading something during those, I have no idea. So other developers should take note of this, because we saw a couple of games lately that run great and were made with Unreal Engine 5. And as an environment artist, it pains me to see how the reputation of a great engine goes to shit, because some of the developers don't have any idea how to optimize their fucking game. So kudos to these guys. With all that in mind, and the fact that this is my first Souls-like game I played ever, Khazan the First Berserker left me a very good impression. From the insane combat to the beautiful art style, level and world design, and even performance, this game is 9.5 out of 10 for me. Easy game of the year contender. It might drop a point or two for some of you who expect to blast through games like a hot knife through butter though. This is the reason this game will not be as popular as Clair Obscur and others. Sadly. Don't get me wrong, Expedition 33 is still hard, but it doesn't compare. Watch the review of that game here, by the way. And remember, play on easy if it gets too hard. Don't complain on forums unless you can't cope with easy difficulty. And to be frank, if you do a boss on easy, I strongly believe you can do it on normal too. So keep doing it, don't give up, and you'll be rewarded with that dopamine hit we all crave. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care and see ya.